They say you can never go home again. For Elon Musk, the world's richest man, a routine trip to Cape Town would prove this saying tragically true. He had everything, billions in the bank, revolutionary companies, and dreams of colonizing Mars. But on a warm African evening, a chance encounter outside a tech conference would shake the foundations of his empire. The homeless man digging through the trash wasn't just another lost soul. He was Daniel Peterson, the brilliant friend who had taught Elon to code, who had shared his dreams of changing the world. But Daniel's haunted eyes held secrets that would turn Elon's understanding of his own success upside down. Why would a programming genius choose to live on the streets? What was he protecting that was worth sacrificing everything? And most importantly, what did it have to do with Elon's rise to becoming the richest man on Earth? The answer would reveal a truth bigger than money, bigger than success, bigger than Earth itself. A truth that began with two boys making a promise under the stars and ended with humanity's greatest discovery. The evening sun cast long shadows across the steps of the Cape Town International Convention Center as Elon Musk made his way through the glass doors. He had just finished giving a keynote speech about the future of sustainable energy in Africa, and his mind was already racing ahead to his next meeting in Texas. A crowd of admirers and reporters lingered nearby, hoping to catch one last glimpse of the famous billionaire. "Mr. Musk, just one more question," a persistent reporter called out. But Elon's security team kept them at bay as they moved toward the waiting Tesla. That's when he saw him. The figure was hunched over, wearing a tattered jacket despite the warm weather. He was digging through a trash bin near the convention center's side entrance, his movements quick and nervous, like a sparrow. Something about the way the man moved caught Elon's attention. There was a familiar grace to it, something that tugged at his memories from long ago. The man must have sensed someone watching him because he looked up suddenly. Their eyes met across the busy sidewalk, and time seemed to stop. Those eyes, Elon knew those eyes. Images flooded his mind. Two young boys huddled over a computer screen, the soft glow of the monitor illuminating their excited faces as they typed line after line of code. The same eyes, 25 years younger, bright with dreams and possibilities. "Daniel," Elon whispered, his feet moving forward before his brain could catch up. "Daniel Peterson." The man's face went pale. He straightened up so quickly that he knocked over the bin, sending empty coffee cups and papers scattering across the pavement. Without a word, he turned and started walking away, his shoulders hunched as if trying to make himself invisible. "Wait!" Elon called out, pushing past his security detail. "Daniel, is that you?" The man walked faster, weaving through the crowd of pedestrians with the skill of someone who had learned to disappear. Elon followed, ignoring the surprised calls of his security team and the murmurs of recognition from passersby. "Sir, we need to stay with the schedule," his head of security urged. But Elon waved him off. "Give me a minute," he said, his eyes never leaving the retreating figure. More memories were surfacing now, memories he hadn't visited in years. He remembered sitting in Daniel's bedroom in Pretoria, both of them 12 years old, surrounded by computer magazines and half-eaten sandwiches. Daniel had just shown him how to write his first program, a simple game that made shapes dance across the screen. "Computers are going to change everything," Daniel had said, his eyes shining with certainty, "and we're going to be part of it. We'll make something amazing together. Just wait and see." Elon remembered how Daniel had always been one step ahead of him when it came to programming, always patient in explaining concepts, never making him feel stupid for asking questions. They had spent countless hours dreaming up impossible machines and writing crude programs to simulate them. Now, watching the homeless man disappear into the crowd, Elon felt like he was watching those dreams dissolve into the growing darkness of the Cape Town evening. "Sir," his security guard's voice snapped him back to the present. "We really need to go." Elon stood there, torn between his scheduled responsibilities and the pull of the past. The crowd around him was growing. Phones out, filming the unusual sight of the world's richest man standing on a sidewalk staring after a homeless person. "Get me everything you can find on Daniel Peterson," he told his assistant, former software engineer from Pretoria. "We went to Bryanston High School together. I want to know what happened to him, where he's been living, everything." "Yes, sir," she replied, already typing on her tablet. But your flight to Texas, cancel it, Elon said, his eyes still fixed on the spot where Daniel had disappeared. Cancel everything for the next few days. As his team scrambled to rearrange his schedule, Elon couldn't shake the image of those familiar eyes, now haunted and afraid. What had happened to the brilliant boy who had taught him to code? The friend who had once convinced him that anything was possible if you were willing to work hard enough? Back in his hotel suite that night, Elon sat by the window, looking out over the lights of Cape Town. His phone buzzed constantly with messages about missed meetings and rescheduled appointments, but he barely noticed them. His mind was 25 years in the past, remembering another night when everything had seemed possible. They had snuck up onto Daniel's roof with a telescope Daniel had built himself. The night was clear, the stars brilliant above the Pretoria suburbs. Daniel had pointed out different constellations, explaining how ancient civilizations had used them for navigation. "We'll go up there someday," Daniel had said, adjusting the telescope's focus. "Build rockets that can take people to Mars. Make humanity a spacefaring civilization." "How?" Elon had asked. "Nobody's even thinking about Mars colonies yet." Daniel had turned to him with that confident smile that always made Elon believe anything was possible. "We'll figure it out. That's what we do, right? Solve problems nobody else is trying to solve." Now, looking out over the city, Elon felt the weight of all the years between that night and this one. He had achieved so many of their shared dreams. The electric cars, the rockets, the push towards sustainable energy. He had become the person they had imagined being. But what had happened to Daniel? His assistant knocked on the door, entering with a tablet in hand. "Sir, I have some preliminary information about Daniel Peterson." Elon turned from the window. "Tell me." "It's not much, sir. He worked as a software engineer for several companies in Johannesburg until about 5 years ago. Then he just disappears from all records. No tax filings, no fixed address, nothing." 5 years ago? Elon frowned. "What happened?" "We're still looking into it, sir. There seems to be some kind of incident at his last workplace, but the records are sealed." Elon stood up, his decision made. "Find him, whatever it takes. I need to know what happened to my friend." As his team began making calls and accessing databases, Elon walked back to the window. Somewhere out there in the darkness, Daniel was probably huddled in some hidden corner of the city, alone with whatever secrets had driven him to this point. "I'll find you," Elon whispered to the night sky. "And this time, I'm not letting you disappear." He pulled out his phone and opened an old photo album he hadn't looked at in years. There it was. A faded photograph of two grinning boys standing in front of a computer, their whole futures ahead of them. One would go on to become the world's richest man. The other would end up digging through trash on the streets of Cape Town. But why? The question haunted him as he stared at the old photograph. What could have happened to turn his brilliant friend into a homeless man who ran at the sight of him? And why did Daniel look so afraid? Elon had a feeling he wasn't going to like the answer. But he had to know. He owed Daniel that much. After all, it had been Daniel who first showed him that computers could change the world. Daniel who had believed in him when nobody else did. Daniel who had given him the confidence to dream big. Now it was time to repay that debt. As the night deepened over Cape Town, Elon Musk began to plan. He had built rockets, revolutionized the auto industry, and created brain-computer interfaces. Surely he could find one man in one city. But something told him this would be the most important search of his life, and he was right. Though not for any of the reasons he could imagine on that warm Cape Town night. The truth, when he finally discovered it, would shake the foundations of everything he had built. But that would come later. For now, he had a friend to find. Morning came too slowly for Elon, who had barely slept. He'd spent most of the night making calls and sending emails, pulling every string he could think of to track down information about Daniel. His hotel room looked like a detective's office, with his assistant Amal pinning locations and dates to a digital map of South Africa displayed on a tablet. "We found something interesting, sir," Amal said, zooming in on Johannesburg. Before he disappeared, Daniel worked for a company called Next Gen Solutions. They were a small AI research firm. Elon leaned forward in his chair. "AI research? That sounds like Daniel." He smiled slightly, remembering how his friend had always been fascinated by the possibility of creating true artificial intelligence. There's more, Amal continued, swiping through documents on her tablet. He was their lead developer on something called Project Oracle. But every record of the project just stops 5 years ago. On October 15th, the same day Daniel disappeared. Elon muttered, "What about his home address?" His last known residence was an apartment in Sandton, Johannesburg. But he was evicted shortly after losing his job. After that, Elon shrugged. He shows up occasionally in shelter records. The most recent one was 3 months ago at the E-Haven Night Shelter here in Cape Town. Elon stood up and walked to the window. The sun was rising over Table Mountain, painting the city in shades of gold and pink. Somewhere out there, Daniel was waking up too. Probably in some hidden corner, alone and afraid. "Get me everything you can find about Project Oracle," Elon said, "and I want to visit that shelter." An hour later, Elon's Tesla pulled up outside the Haven Night Shelter. He'd insisted on driving himself, much to his security team's dismay. It was a modest building, its blue paint fading in the morning sun. A small line of people had already formed outside, waiting for the breakfast service to begin. Inside, the shelter manager, Mrs. McKee, looked at Elon with a mixture of surprise and suspicion. "Yes, Daniel stayed here," she said, flipping through a worn logbook. "But he wasn't like our usual guests. Very quiet, very clean, always helping in the kitchen. And sometimes," she hesitated. "Sometimes what?" "Sometimes I would find him in the computer room late at night. He would be typing so fast, his fingers like lightning on the keyboard. But the moment anyone came in, he would delete everything and leave." Elon felt his pulse quicken. That sounded exactly like the Daniel he remembered. Always coding, always creating, always secretive about his work until it was perfect. "When was the last time you saw him?" Mrs. Maki closed the logbook. "About 3 months ago. He left suddenly one night. Didn't even take his breakfast." But she reached into a drawer and pulled out a worn notebook. "He left this behind. I kept it, thinking he might come back for it." Elon took the notebook carefully. Its pages were filled with Daniel's familiar handwriting, lines of code, complex diagrams, and mathematical equations that made Elon's eyes widen as he began to understand their implications. "This is brilliant," he whispered, turning the pages. He was working on something big, something revolutionary. Back in the car, Elon studied the notebook more carefully. Most of it was written in a coding shorthand that he and Daniel had developed together as teenagers. His heart tightened as he recognized it. They had created it during long nights of programming, wanting a way to share ideas that nobody else could understand. "Emily, get me everything you can find about next-gen solutions," he said, not looking up from the notebook. "Financial records, employee lists, project files, everything." "All on it, sir," Emily replied. "But there's something odd. The company seems to have been acquired by TechCore Industries right after Daniel left." "And TechCore is," Elon finished, "one of the biggest AI companies in the world. I know them. They announced a breakthrough in machine learning algorithms about 4 years ago. Their stock went through the roof." He turned another page in the notebook and suddenly stopped. There, in their secret code, was a message. "E, if you find this, don't look for me. Some things are better left buried. Remember the promise we made that night on the roof. I kept mine. D." Elon's mind raced back to that night. They had made lots of promises under the stars, sharing their dreams of changing the world. But which one was Daniel talking about? His phone buzzed with a message from his team in Johannesburg. They had located Daniel's old supervisor at Next Gen Solutions, a Dr. James John. He was willing to meet. 3 hours later, Elon's private jet touched down in Johannesburg. Dr. John's office was in a small research park on the outskirts of the city. The elderly scientist looked nervous as Elon entered, his fingers drumming on his desk. "I haven't talked to Daniel in years," Dr. John said, looking around as if afraid of being overheard. "There was an agreement, a legal thing." "I'm not interested in legal agreements," Elon said firmly. "I want to know what happened to my friend." Dr. John sighed deeply. "Daniel was brilliant, the most brilliant programmer I've ever worked with. Project Oracle was his baby, an AI system that could predict market trends with unprecedented accuracy. But it was more than that. The underlying algorithm, it could be applied to anything. Spaceflight trajectories, climate modeling, human behavior patterns." What went wrong? The day before the project was supposed to be presented to the board, Daniel came to me in a panic. He said he'd found something in the code, something dangerous. He wanted to shut everything down. But before we could discuss it, TechCore's representatives arrived. There was a confrontation. Daniel was fired. The project was seized, and the next day, our entire company was acquired. Elon leaned forward. What did he find in the code? Dr. John shook his head. I don't know, but that night, someone broke into the lab. All the project files were deleted. The only copy of the Oracle algorithm disappeared. And Daniel, he spread his hands helplessly. Daniel disappeared too. As Elon left the office, his mind was racing. The pieces were starting to come together, but they formed a troubling picture. What had Daniel discovered that was worth giving up everything to keep secret? The answer, he suspected, was somewhere in that notebook. But as he opened it again, he noticed something he had missed before. In the back cover, almost invisible unless you knew where to look, was a small data drive cleverly hidden in the binding. Elon held it up to the light, his heart pounding. Here, perhaps, were the answers he was looking for. But finding those answers would lead him down a path he never expected, to a truth that would change everything he thought he knew about his success, his friend, and the price of keeping promises made under the stars. Elon sat in his hotel suite in Johannesburg, staring at the small data drive in his hand. His laptop was open, ready to reveal whatever secrets Daniel had hidden away, but something made him hesitate. Sir, Emily said from the doorway, I found something else about next-gen solutions. The night of the break-in, their security cameras caught this. She handed him her tablet. The footage was grainy, showing a dark figure moving through NextGen's offices, but what caught Elon's attention was what happened next. The figure stopped at a computer, typed for exactly 2 minutes and 47 seconds, then left. No stolen equipment, no ransacked files, just those few minutes of typing. Look at the timestamp, Emily said quietly. Exactly the time he and Daniel used to start their coding sessions as kids. Daniel had always insisted it was when their brains worked best. It was him, Elon murmured. He wasn't stealing the algorithm, he was destroying it. But why? Daniel had spent years developing Project Oracle. What could have made him erase his life's work? Elon plugged the drive into his laptop. It contained a single file, a video recording. Daniel's face appeared on the screen, looking exhausted but determined. The timestamp showed it was recorded the night of the break-in. Hello, Elon, Daniel's recorded image said. If you're watching this, it means you found my notebook. I knew if anyone could decode our old shorthand, it would be you. He smiled sadly. Remember when we created that code? We thought we were so clever. Elon remembered. They had spent weeks perfecting their secret programming language, convinced they were the next Alan Turing and John von Neumann. I need to explain why I disappeared, Daniel continued. Project Oracle worked. It worked too well. The algorithm could predict not just market trends, but human behavior patterns. All human behavior patterns. His voice shook slightly. Do you understand what that means? Whoever controlled it could manipulate everything. Elections, economies, social movements. They could reshape society itself. Elon felt a chill run down his spine. He thought of his own work with neural interfaces and AI. He knew exactly what Daniel meant. TechCore figured out what I'd created. They didn't want to buy it. They wanted to control it. But I couldn't let that happen, so I destroyed it. All of it. Daniel leaned closer to the camera. But they're still looking for me. They think I have a backup somewhere, and maybe I do, maybe I don't. The point is, they can never be sure. The video paused as Daniel seemed to gather his thoughts. But that's not why I made this recording. There's something else you need to know. Something about the code that helped launch your first company. Elon's breath caught. He remembered those early days, struggling to get his first startup off the ground. Then one day, mysteriously, an email had arrived containing exactly the programming solution he needed. The video suddenly cut off. No, Elon muttered, checking the drive. No, no. But it was no use. The rest of the file was corrupted. He sat back, his mind racing. Had Daniel been the one who sent that code all those years ago? But why stay hidden? Why not come forward? Sir, Emily interrupted his thoughts, you need to see this. She handed him another tablet, showing a news article from 5 years ago. The headline read, TechCore Industries announces revolutionary AI breaker. Elon scanned the article, his frown deepening. The technology TechCore had revealed bore a striking resemblance to elements he'd seen in Daniel's notebook. They hadn't just stolen his friend's work. They built their entire empire on it. We need to go back to NextGen's old offices, he decided. There might be something we missed. The building that had housed NextG Solutions was now a different tech startup, but much of the original infrastructure remained. As Elon walked through the halls with the current building manager, he noticed something odd about the layout. Was this wall always here? He asked, tapping a section that seemed out of place. The manager checked his blueprints. No, sir. That was added during renovations 5 years ago. Elon pressed his hand against the wall, remembering something from Daniel's notebook, a diagram that hadn't made sense until now. Can we open this up? An hour later, construction workers had removed a section of the wall, revealing a small cavity. Inside was an old computer server, dusty but intact. He hit a backup, Elon whispered, but not of Project Oracle. The server contained hundreds of files, all dated from their teenage years. Games they had created together, practice programs, half-finished projects. But one folder was different. It was labeled simply for E. Inside were countless code snippets and algorithms, each one perfectly tailored to solve specific problems, problems that Elon had faced in his early companies, problems that had mysteriously resolved themselves just when he was about to give up. All this time, Elon said softly, he was helping me from the shadows. But as he dug deeper into the files, he found something else, something that made his blood run cold. The base code for Project Oracle wasn't entirely original. It built upon another algorithm, one that looked eerily familiar because he was using a version of it in his own AI projects. Emily, he said, his voice tight, get me everything you can find about TechCore's current AI research. Everything. As she hurried away, Elon sat in the dusty server room, surrounded by the ghosts of his past. The truth was starting to take shape, and it was bigger than just Daniel's disappearance. It was about a promise made by two boys under the stars, about the true price of success, and about a friendship that had shaped the course of technological history in ways he was only beginning to understand. But the biggest revelation, the one that would shake the foundations of the tech world, was still to come. Because somewhere out there, Daniel Peterson wasn't just hiding from TechCore. He was protecting something far more valuable than a predictive algorithm. He was protecting the truth about how Elon Musk really became the world's richest man. The sun was setting over Johannesburg when Emily burst into the server room, her face pale with urgency. Sir, we've found him. Daniel's been spotted at a homeless camp near the old Tor Tech district. Elon looked up from the server files he'd been examining for hours. His eyes were red from staring at code, his mind racing with the implications of what he'd discovered. Without a word, he stood up and headed for the door. Sir, Emily called after him. There's something else. TechCore's security teams are moving too. They must have picked up the same trail. The drive to Tor was tense. Elon kept thinking about the code he'd found on the server, about all the mysterious solutions that had appeared at crucial moments in his career. Each breakthrough that had seemed like inspiration might have had a hidden author. The homeless camp was tucked behind an abandoned office complex, a collection of makeshift shelters and temporary structures. As Elon's Tesla pulled up, he could see people starting to scatter. The arrival of expensive cars usually meant trouble. But one figure remained seated by a small fire, head bowed over what looked like an old laptop. Even from a distance, Elon recognized the way Daniel hunched over a keyboard, the same posture he'd had since they were kids. Daniel, Elon said softly, approaching the fire. Daniel didn't look up. You found the server. Why didn't you tell me? Elon asked, sitting down on an overturned crate across from his old friend. All these years, all that code, it was you. You needed to believe in yourself, Daniel replied, finally looking up. His eyes were tired but clear. If you'd known the solutions came from me, you might have doubted your own abilities. You needed to think you could solve anything. But you could have been part of it all. We could have built these companies together, just like we planned. Daniel shook his head, a sad smile on his face. That wasn't the promise we made that night on the roof. Do you remember what you said? "What you made me swear?" Elon frowned, thinking back. That night had been special. They just finished their first major coding project together, a program that could calculate rocket trajectories. They'd been so proud, so full of dreams. "You said you were afraid," Daniel continued. "Afraid you weren't smart enough to change the world, that maybe all your big ideas were just childish fantasies." He closed his laptop. "You made me promise to tell you if you were wrong about something, to help you avoid big mistakes, but you also made me promise never to let you give up on those dreams. And you've been keeping that promise all this time by secretly sending me code." "The code was always within your capability to write. I just helped you see the solutions a little faster, gave you the confidence boost you needed at crucial moments." Daniel gestured at his laptop. "But that's not why TechCore is hunting me." A distant sound of vehicles made them both look up. Headlights were approaching the camp. "Project Oracle wasn't just about predicting behavior," Daniel said quickly. "It was about understanding the patterns that drive innovation itself. And when I ran the algorithm on your companies, on your innovations," he paused, looking directly at Elon, "it showed that none of it should have been possible. Not in this time frame. The technological leaps were too great, the solutions too perfect." "What are you saying?" "I'm saying that someone else has been helping you too. Someone besides me." Daniel reached into his tattered jacket and pulled out a small device. "The real reason I had to destroy Project Oracle wasn't just about its predictive power. It's because it proved that we're not alone in the universe, and they've been guiding our technological development for decades." Elon stared at the device. It wasn't like any technology he'd ever seen. The surface seemed to shift and move under the firelight, like liquid metal that couldn't quite decide on its shape. "They contacted me 6 years ago," Daniel continued. "Showed me things I couldn't believe. They've been watching us, Elon, watching you. Those intuitive leaps you've made, the solutions that seemed to come to you in dreams, some of them really were impossible. They were gentle nudges from beings who want to help humanity advance." The approaching vehicles were closer now. Multiple black SUVs, their headlights cutting through the gathering darkness. TechCore somehow figured out what Project Oracle had discovered. They don't want to control the algorithm. They want to control humanity's contact with our alien benefactors. Daniel handed Elon the strange device. "This contains everything. The truth about Project Oracle. Proof of the alien contact." And he smiled. "Every bit of code I ever sent you. It's time for the world to know that humanity's greatest achievements came from cooperation, both between friends and between species." The SUVs were entering the camp now. Men in tactical gear were emerging, weapons ready. "But why live like this?" Elon gestured at the homeless camp. "Why suffer when you could have told me?" "Because they're watching. They're always watching. And sometimes the only way to hide something valuable is to become someone nobody would ever think to value." Daniel stood up, his posture straightening, suddenly looking more like the brilliant programmer he'd always been. The homeless man digging through trash wasn't just a disguise, Elon. It was protection. After all, who would believe that one of the most important scientific discoveries in human history came from a homeless man? The TechCore security teams were spreading out through the camp. They hadn't spotted them yet. Behind the row of shelters. "Go," Daniel said firmly. "Take the device. Show the world the truth." But most importantly, he smiled that familiar smile that had always made Elon believe in impossible things. "Keep dreaming big. You may have had help along the way, but those dreams, those were always yours." Elon gripped the device tightly. "Come with me. We can face this together." But Daniel was already backing away into the shadows. "My part in this story is done. I kept my promise. I helped you believe in yourself. Now it's your turn to help humanity believe in something bigger than itself." As the TechCore teams closed in, Elon slipped away, clutching the alien device, its surface seemingly alive under his fingers. His mind was reeling with revelations. The truth about his success, about Daniel's sacrifice, about humanity's secret helpers among the stars. But most of all, he thought about a promise made by two boys under the stars, and how keeping that promise had changed the course of human history in ways they could never have imagined. The real question now was, what would he do with this truth? The answer would change everything. Dawn was breaking over Tor as Elon sat in his hotel suite, the alien device casting strange shadows on the wall. He hadn't slept. How could he? Everything he thought he knew about his success, about human technological progress, had been turned upside down in a single night. Emily entered with a tablet in hand. "Sir, TechCore teams are still searching the camp, but Daniel's gone. He knows how to disappear. He's had plenty of practice." Elon muttered, turning the device over in his hands. Its surface rippled like quicksilver, responding to his touch in ways that defied known physics. And word from our lawyers, they're ready to file the injunctions against TechCore. "Are you sure you want to do this? Once we go public with these allegations, there's no going back. Your reputation, your companies, could all be destroyed." "I know," Elon finished. He walked to the window, looking out at the city where his journey had begun. Somewhere out there, Daniel was hiding again, carrying the burden of a truth too big for one person to bear, just as he had been doing for years, sacrificing everything to protect humanity's greatest secret. The device hummed softly in Elon's hand, and suddenly it projected a holographic display into the air. Images and text floated in space, showing the history of alien contact with Earth. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time, proof that humanity wasn't alone and that their technological progress had been guided by benevolent hands from the stars. "Sir," Emily said, staring at the display, this changes everything." "No," Elon replied softly. "This explains everything. The impossible leaps in battery technology that had made Tesla's success possible, the breakthroughs in rocket engineering that had revolutionized SpaceX, the neural interface advancements that had seemed to come to him in dreams. All of it had been gently nudged along by alien intelligence and faithfully supported by Daniel's brilliant coding. His phone buzzed, a message from an unknown number. "The device will show you everything. But remember our promise. Some dreams are too important to give up on." Elon closed his eyes, remembering that night on the roof. They had been looking at Mars through Daniel's telescope, dreaming about colonies and spaceships, but there had been another conversation too, one he hadn't recalled until now. "Promise me something," young Daniel had said. "Promise that if we ever discover something huge, something that could change everything, we'll think carefully about how to share it. Knowledge is power, but timing is everything." "I promise," young Elon had replied, "but you have to promise something too. Promise you'll always tell me if I'm going in the wrong direction." "Wrong direction?" Daniel had laughed. "Elon, you're the only person I know who's crazy enough to be going in exactly the right direction." Now, looking at the alien device, Elon understood what his friend had meant. All these years, Daniel hadn't just been sending him code. He had been making sure humanity's development stayed on the right path, the path that would eventually lead to the stars. Emily's tablet chimed with breaking news. TechCore's CEO was holding an emergency press conference announcing a revolutionary new AI system that would change the fundamental nature of human society. They were planning to launch it within 24 hours. They're going to try to control it all, Elon realized. Use Project Oracle's predictions to manipulate global development, maybe even try to monopolize alien contact. He picked up his phone and dialed a number he hadn't used in years. After 3 rings, a familiar voice answered. "Hello, old friend," Daniel said quietly. "I see you figured it out. TechCore is moving fast. They're going to launch a version of Project Oracle." "I know, but their version is flawed. Without the alien insights, without understanding the true purpose of guided development, they'll create chaos. Humanity needs to advance at the right pace, in the right way." Elon looked at the device again. "What do we do?" "What we always planned to do," Daniel replied. "Change the world, but this time, we do it together." For the next several hours, Elon and his team worked frantically. Daniel, coordinating through secure channels, helped them understand the alien device's capabilities. It wasn't just a storage unit, it was a communication tool, a bridge between human and alien intelligence. As evening approached, everything was ready. Elon had called a global press conference scheduled to begin just before TechCore's announcement. The world's media was buzzing with speculation about what the richest man on Earth could be planning to reveal. But first, there was something he had to do. He found Daniel exactly where he knew he would be, on the roof of their old school in Pretoria. His friend was sitting in almost the exact same spot where they had made their promises all those years ago. "You could have told me," Elon said, sitting beside him. Daniel smiled, looking up at the stars that were just becoming visible. "Would you have believed me? That aliens were guiding human development? That your greatest achievements were part of a larger plan? Maybe not. But I would have believed in you. You needed to believe in yourself first." Daniel turned to face him. "Everything you've accomplished, yes, you had help from me, from them. But the vision, the courage to pursue impossible dreams, that was all you, Elon. I just kept my promise to help you stay on track." The sun was setting now, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. In a few hours, they would change the world forever. Humanity would learn they weren't alone, that their technological progress had been guided, that their future among the stars was closer than they imagined. But right now, in this moment, they were just two friends who had kept their promises to each other, no matter the cost. "Ready to change the world?" Elon asked, standing up and offering his hand. Daniel took it, rising to his feet. "We already have. Now it's time to help everyone else catch up." As they left the roof together, the alien device hummed with energy, its surface reflecting the first stars of evening above them. Unnoticed by anyone else, strange lights moved across the darkening sky. Humanity's secret helpers, watching and waiting as their guided children prepared to take their next great leap forward. The truth was about to change everything. But more importantly, it was about to fulfill the dreams of two boys who had once looked up at the stars and dared to imagine impossible things. And this time, they would face it together. The press conference room at the Tor Technology Center was packed. Journalists from around the world sat shoulder to shoulder, their cameras ready, wondering why Elon Musk had called such an urgent meeting. On the screens behind the empty podium, a countdown timer ticked away the minutes until TechCore's scheduled announcement. Backstage, Elon and Daniel stood together, watching the feed from TechCore's headquarters, where their CEO was preparing to announce their version of Project Oracle. The alien device sat on a table between them, its surface swirling with patterns that seemed to respond to their conversation. "Are you absolutely sure about this?" Daniel asked, adjusting his newly cleaned shirt, a far cry from his homeless disguise. "Once we do this, everything changes. Your companies, your reputation." "Our companies," Elon corrected him. "It's time to make things right." Emily appeared with a tablet showing the latest news. "TechCore is starting early. They're trying to beat us to the punch." On the screen, TechCore's CEO was stepping up to his podium. "Today, we announce a breakthrough that will revolutionize human society. An artificial intelligence system that can predict and guide human development like never before." Elon picked up the alien device. "That's our cue." As they walked toward the stage, Daniel grabbed his arm. "Wait, there's one last thing you need to know." He took a deep breath. "Remember when I said your company's successes seemed impossible? That the aliens had helped guide your innovations?" "Yes. That wasn't the whole truth." Daniel's eyes were intense. "They didn't choose to help you randomly. They chose you because of what I told them about you, about that night on the roof, about your dreams of Mars colonies and sustainable energy. I didn't just send you code all these years. I convinced them to make you their primary contact on Earth." Elon stared at his friend. "You did what? They needed to know humanity was ready for advancement. I showed them your vision, your determination. Every piece of code I sent you was amplified by their technology, guided by their wisdom. But the dreams those innovations served, those were all yours. I just helped them see what I've always seen in you." Before Elon could respond, the door opened. "Mr. Musk, you're on in 1 minute." They walked onto the stage together, blinking in the camera lights. The room fell silent as everyone recognized Elon and then began murmuring as they noticed the strange device in his hands and the unfamiliar man beside him. 25 years ago, Elon began, two boys made a promise under the stars, a promise about changing the world, about helping each other achieve impossible dreams. He placed the device on the podium. Today, we're here to tell you how that promise led to the greatest discovery in human history. The device activated, projecting its holographic display for all to see. Gasps filled the room as images of alien technology and communication appeared in the air. "My name is Daniel Peterson. Daniel stepped forward, and I'm here to tell you about Project Oracle, about alien contact, and about how humanity's greatest achievements have been guided by friends we didn't know we had. For the next hour, they told their story about the aliens who had chosen to guide human development, about Project Oracle and its discovery of the truth, about TechCore's attempts to control it all, and about a friendship that had helped shape humanity's path to the stars. As they spoke, news began flooding in. TechCore's stock was plummeting. Their CEO had abruptly ended his press conference. Government agencies were already reaching out, seeking to understand the implications of alien contact. But then Daniel revealed the final truth, one that even Elon hadn't known until now. The aliens gave us a choice, Daniel said, his voice carrying across the silent room. They showed me two possible futures. In one, humanity reaches the stars but loses its soul, guided by corporations and control. In the other, we advance through cooperation, through shared dreams and mutual support. He turned to Elon. That's why I lived as I did, why I sent you code in secret to help you succeed, but to prove that humanity's greatest achievements come from working together, from lifting each other up. The alien device pulsed with light, and suddenly the room was filled with images of possible futures. Cities on Mars, clean energy powering the world, humanity reaching out to the stars, not through control and competition, but through cooperation and shared vision. This is why I chose you, Daniel said to Elon, but loud enough for everyone to hear. Not because you wanted to be the richest man on Earth, but because every innovation, every company, every breakthrough was in service of a bigger dream, making humanity a space-faring civilization. Elon stepped forward, which is why today we're announcing something else. Every patent, every innovation, every piece of technology developed with alien guidance will be made open source, available to all of humanity. He smiled at his friend. No more secrets, no more hiding. We face the future together. The room erupted in chaos as journalists rushed to file their stories. The world was about to change in ways no one could have predicted. But amid the chaos, two friends stood together on stage, looking out at a future they had helped create. A future born from a promise made under the stars, kept through years of separation and sacrifice. Think those two kids on the roof would believe this? Daniel asked quietly. Elon laughed. They probably would. They believed in everything. Still do, Daniel replied. Only now, we have a little help. Above the technology center, strange lights moved across the evening sky. Humanity's secret helpers were secret no more, and somewhere in Pretoria, an old telescope still sat on a rooftop pointed at the stars, a reminder of where it all began. The world would never be the same. But more importantly, two friends who had dared to dream impossible dreams were finally, after all these years, exactly where they were meant to be, together. Thank you for joining us for this incredible story of friendship, sacrifice, and the power of keeping promises. Sometimes the greatest successes are built on the quiet support of those who believe in us. Where are you listening from? Let us know in the comments below. We love hearing from our community around the world. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Every like helps spread these messages of hope and kindness to more people who might need to hear them. Remember, true friendship isn't measured in dollars and cents, but in the dreams we help each other achieve. See you in our next story.